In the previous class, we have covered up till the society. We were covering the society, and in that society part, first of all we had studied the North India and then the South India. In the post-modern period, we have specifically divided the North Indian part and the South Indian part. Okay. Now we are going to study the intellectual development in this period. And basically here we are going to study the Shad Darshana or the today we are going to cover the Shad Darshan, or we can also say the Astik and the Nastik school of philosophy. Okay. Basically, we are moving towards the cultural dimension of this period. We are moving towards the cultural history, and in that cultural history, first of all, we will study the intellectual development, and basically our agenda will be to study the Indian philosophy or the development in philosophy which were made not only during this time period. Whatever we will study, this is not exactly the development of this period. Rather, it has been coming out from the 6th century BC itself. But here what do we find? They got consolidated and their literature emerged. Okay. If someone is saying that it is in the post-modern period that these ideas are getting developed, no. The idea is getting developed since the 6th century BCE. But here what we find is that the proper evidence, proper text, literary sources are there. Okay. So basically we will understand, first of all, brief understanding that what is philosophy. Then their broad categorization. Then various schools, their doctrines or their teachings, and then the general feature of Indian philosophy. These are the things are there which we are going to study in our today class. So basically we are moving towards the philosophy. That what do we understand by this term? What is the meaning of this term? Okay. So write down. You can give the heading philosophy or what is philosophy and then start writing down. Okay. The term philosophy is derived from the Greek term or the word philosophia. The term philosophy is derived from the Greek word or the Greek term philosophia. Okay. Which basically means love within quotes, love of wisdom. Within quotes, love of wisdom. Deep knowledge of any subject. Deep knowledge of any subject which forms a theory, or guiding principle. Deep knowledge of any subject which forms a theory or guiding principle is philosophy. Is philosophy. In India, this system or knowledge is called as Darshana. Darshan Shastra. Philosophy is basically what? Darshan Shastra. Okay. The term is a Sanskrit word. Meaning to know or to see. To know or to see. Okay. Thus the term darshan means the system which helps us to know or to understand whatever is there in the universe and beyond. So basically, philosophy is that branch of knowledge which aims to acquire knowledge about the universe, whatever there is in the universe, and even beyond to this universe. This is the basic crux of philosophy. So whether there is the curiosity of mind, whether you want to know about some kind of natural phenomena or any material. Audible now? So basically it is suggesting, or this philosophy is what? Understanding the universe and the knowledge beyond the universe also. If anything is there, then why it is there? How it is there? So the why and the how of anything is basically the philosophy. Whatever there is in the universe. Next para. Prameya. Prameya, that is object of knowledge. Object of knowledge. And praman. Prameya and praman. Prameya is basically object of knowledge. Praman, means of knowledge or the source of knowledge. So basically, for example, this is the प्रमेय. चाय के बारे में मत सोचो, जो ऑब्जेक्ट दिखा रहा हूं वो सोचो. So this is basically the प्रमेय, object of knowledge. Now when you want to know about this thing, then you try to find out that how can I know about this? That this is a matter, it is made up of any kind of plastic or any kind of material. Then what is that material? How can I understand that material? So that becomes your praman. So you go after the means or the source of knowledge. So any object is there, and when you try to understand that object through any knowledge, the object will be known as the prameya, and the way and the source will be known as the praman. For example, in talking in terms of philosophical, Atma. So now Atma is some way like a object. Now you want to understand it. Source of knowledge. So either you take the help of Upanishad, you try to understand the Atma through the doctrine of Upanishad, or you try to understand it through the doctrine of Jainism. So whatever the method which you are applying to understand, that is basically the praman. Anything you want to know about is object, and to know that object, what knowledge you are applying, that is the praman. Object of knowledge, means of knowledge, anything. And it is only just an example. It will vary across each religious idea, each philosophical doctrine. It is not same towards everything. It will vary from one philosophy to another philosophy. Okay, remember that. So prameya, that is the object of knowledge, and praman, that is the means of knowledge or the source of knowledge, are the two components, are the two components of philosophy in general, are the two components of philosophy in general. Different philosophical system, while defining their prameya, also define the praman. While defining their prameya, also define the praman. Next para. In philosophical discourse, to determine the valid knowledge, in philosophical discourse, to determine the valid knowledge, we have two ways. That is direct and indirect. Direct means the knowledge. Direct means the knowledge which can be perceived through the senses, that is pratyaksh. That is pratyaksh. And indirect means The knowledge means the knowledge which is not taken directly through senses, like anuman, upaman, etc. Anuman, upaman, etc. Anuman, upaman, etc. The significant बताता हूँ. The significant pramanas are as follows. The significant pramanas are as follows. First, pratyaksh. First is pratyaksh. Second, anuman. Third, upaman. Fourth, shabd. Anuplabdhi. And arthpati. So these are what? These are the pramanas. It means the source of knowledge. These are the 6 important or the 6 significant pramanas, okay, which act as the source of knowledge. In order to understand anything, you try to take the help of this thing. So pratyaksh is what? Whatever you can feel. So direct perception, in bracket write down direct perception through sense organ. Direct perception through sense organ. Anuman, inference. Anuman is basically inference. Anuman, inference. You try to infer something, try to arrive at some point. That is the meaning of that, inference. Upaman, that is analogy. Upaman, that is analogy. Shabd, that is verbal testimony. Anuplabdhi, non-perception. Anuplabdhi is non-perception. And arthpati is implication. So basically, you have to understand this in terms of philosophical way. Now, pratyaksh, for example, if there is water.
Can you repeat the arthpati meaning?
Arthpati basically means implication. Implication. Now, water. You can feel it through senses. So this is what pratyaksh. Now you try to make a logic that as it can be felt, so there might be a god who is known as Varun. So that is Anuman. You made an analogy, or you made some kind of inference that as we can feel it, so there is one god. Now what can be the Upaman in that analogy? Analogy is that if there is drought, it may be that the god is not happy with you. This is the Upaman. It basically means, see, all these things, these are happening inside the human mind. These are happening inside the human mind. Now consider this at the time of the Rigvedic society at that point of time. Now they want to understand the nature. Whatever that is happening around their side, they want to understand it. And now they are trying to find the answer for that. So they try to do this, they try to go through this philosophical way of understanding. Not the normal people, but the intellectual people of that time. So they try to convince the people like this, that see, that if there is water, then there would be a god. And why the god is not giving you the proper water? Because he is angry with you. So in order to make him happy, you have to perform various kind of sacrifices. That is the way. How to perform the sacrifices? Now that will be told by the Brahmanas. Then in order to make the Brahmanas happy, you have to give some kind of sacrifices, perform sacrifices. You have to give some feasts. So in that way, all these ideas are intertwined with the emergence of the human society. Remember that. Okay? So that is Upman. Shabd, that is verbal testimony. Maybe anything you have written in the text. You have written something, some ideas in the text. And that cannot be read by everyone in the society. Only exclusivity is there that the Brahmanas can read them and recite them. So that is the way you create a divinity in that idea. So if you have heard the word, if you have heard the Vedas, it means you have received the supernatural शब्द. महाभारत में देखते हो ना, जब पुराने वाले महाभारत में या रामायण का जो सीरियल देखा हुआ है, so there are many times a situation is there, सावधान, तो ऐसा वो बोलता है ना. So all these things and all these ideas are, so that is शब्द basically, divine words. That is the thing. Anuplabdhi, non-perception. Still there are many things which you cannot even perceive, which you cannot see, which you cannot understand. Like for example, the God, the eternal Brahm. It can see you, but you cannot see it. It can feel you, but you cannot feel it. It is everywhere, but you cannot see it. उपनिषद के डॉक्ट्राइन को पढ़ते समय हमने समझा था. So that is the doctrine. So that is anuplabdhi. An implication, basically trying to come at a conclusion that this is the right knowledge and this is the way to understand this thing. Implication is basically that is being suggested. So the entire earth, this line is suggesting that this is the essence of this entire universe. Because what the philosophies are doing, they are trying to make you understand that how the universe works, how the phenomena of death is there, how the phenomena of birth is taking place. So all these things are being explained, and these are the sources of knowledge. That if you want to know the Brahm, if you want to know the God, you take the help of these methods. in that way. Something will be pratyaksh, something will not be perceived. What is perceived, that you have to understand. So these are the ways and these are the methods are there. Okay. Next para. Based upon these sources of knowledge, based upon these sources of knowledge, various Indian philosophical schools discuss their subject matter like Atma, that is the soul. So these are the objects. Okay, these are the objects. Soul, Atma, that is the soul. Srishti, that is the universe. Ishwar, that is the God. God. Moksha, liberation. Punarjanma, that is rebirth, and so on. So is it clear now, the prameya and the praman? Is it clear to all of you? What is prameya and what is praman? Tell me, what are praman?
So,
yes.
how can moksha comes under prameya and object?
See, basically object is what? When you want to understand something, object is not only which is material in nature. It can be immaterial idea also. It can be immaterial concept also. So basically you want to understand moksha. Moksha is something. Now you want to understand that how moksha work, why moksha is required, what is the use of moksha. So now you will try to understand the moksha with different philosophies. Either you understand it through Upanishad, either you understand it through Buddhism, either you understand it through the Sad Darshan. Anything can be there. Object is not only material in nature which you can see. We have seen anuplabdhi, something which can be non-perceived also. That is an abstract idea also. That way can also work. And what was the aim and yes?
If we want to know about Shabda, any literary source, it is also comes under knowledge of sources. So, if you want to know about Shabda, तो ये भी तो object में आ सकता है.
Yes, there is overlapping. There is no rigid demarcation like that. That is a right way of interpretation. There is no point in that. That can come definitely. Okay. Now write down. Origin of, next para, origin of Indian philosophical thoughts. Origins of Indian philosophical thoughts can be traced back to the Rig Veda, Many hymns like Nasadya, Many hymns like Nasadya, Purush Sukt, Purush Shukt, Vak Sukt, yes, VAK, Vak Sut and Gyan Sut. Tell me about this. What is this? So it is part of which literature? Later Vedic. Book 10 of the Rig Veda. Okay? Remember that. So many hymns like the Nasadya hymn, Purush Shukta hymn, Vak hymn and the Gyan hymn symbolically narrate about the creation of universe, symbolically narrate about the creation of universe, destruction, nature of self, creation of universe, destruction of universe, nature of self, etc. Philosophical discourse, flourishes, philosophical discourse flourishes in the Upanishads, the last major part of Vedic literature. Next para. In the post-Vedic period, philosophical thoughts turned into independent schools, such as Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa and etc. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Mimamsa. You can write down Charvak also. Jainism, Buddhism, all these ideas are there. Okay. So whatever philosophies come to your mind, write it down, etc. Okay. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Mimamsa, Charvak, Jainism, Buddhism, Vaisheshika, all these things. Okay. Many schools, after etc., write down full stop and then write down many schools carried forward the Vedic thoughts and elaborated upon them whereas some schools developed their thoughts opposing to the validity opposing to the validity of the Vedas. Thus Indian philosophical thoughts are divided into two categories. First, Astik. In bracket write down, which accepts the validity of the Vedas, as source of knowledge, and second, that is the Nastik, which denies the validity of the Vedas as source of knowledge. In the technical sense of Darshan, the word Astik and Nastik have no relation with religion, and some darshanas have no concept of God, and some darshanas have no concept of God and still considered Astik as their principles are adhered to the Vedas, are still considered Astik as their principles are adhered to the Vedas. Okay. So basically what the meaning of this entire paragraph is there, that this categorization of this Astik and the Nastik, it should not be perceived or understood as classification based upon religion or God. That whether one philosophy ascribe or suggest its relation with any kind of religion or with God. Rather, the central point is the Vedas. Those who will ascribe to the Vedas, they will be known as the Astik. Those who will not ascribe, that will be known as the Nastik. So, can you tell me the names of the Astik and the Nastik? Charvak, Jainism, Buddhism, okay. And what about the Astik? What are the 6 schools of philosophy? देख के बोल दो. तो चारवाक तो यहाँ पे अभी ये कहा था कि नास्तिक में है. What are the 6 schools of Indian philosophy? सोसाइटी और हिस्ट्री वाले तो बताने ही चाहिए कम से कम. कोई और बताए या ना बताए, एटलीस्ट सोसाइटी के स्टूडेंट और हिस्ट्री के स्टूडेंट को तो आना ही चाहिए ये चीज. And चलो सीख जाओगे आज के बाद, लेकिन पढ़ लेना घर में जाके, ठीक है। So basically when we are talking about the Nastik school of philosophy, we have the Charvak, or sometimes it is known as the Lokayata philosophy. Khao piyo ऐश करो. This philosophy is known as the Khao piyo और ऐश करो, KPA. ठीक है. Then we have Jainism, we have Buddhism. Okay. While when we talk about Astik, we have Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, and we have Uttara Mimamsa, which is also known as the Vedanta. So these are the, करवाऊंगा अभी मैं, चिंता मत करो, ठीक है, लिखवाऊंगा, सबके बारे में लिखवाऊंगा अभी, चिंता मत करो. Yes, Ajivika set can also be told. Ajivika, materialist doctrine. Okay.
Sir, again also then.
क्या?
Again sect.
ऐसे कुल मिला के 62 सेक्ट थे उस टाइम पे. There is no need to remember all those 62 names. Remember these 4 just. Most important, चारवाक, जैनिज्म एंड बुद्धिज्म एंड आजीविका. बस इतने के बारे में याद रखो. उस टाइम पे कुल मिला के we have 62 sects which are Nastik in nature. Okay. Come to next para. It is observed by the seers, Rishi Munis, it is observed by the seers that the entire humanity is battered by threefold suffering, First, अधिवैदिका, अधिवैका, अधिवैका, that is suffering caused by nature. It basically means suffering caused by nature. अधिभौतिका, suffering caused by nature, suffering caused by creatures, Adhyatmika, suffering pertaining to mind and spirit, So as per the Indian philosophical system, 3 kind of suffering has been identified: Adhivaika, Adhibhautika and Adhyatmika. Okay. The ordinary means of eradicating human suffering the ordinary means of eradicating human suffering does help in it, but it cannot cause complete and everlasting end of suffering. So after identifying the three suffering, these philosophical ideas, they are saying that although there may be some remedy is available there in the normal times, in the society, in the life, but they don't lead to the complete cessation of the suffering. Complete cessation of suffering is not there. Okay. Our seeds always looked for a kind of full and final freedom. Our seeds always looked for a kind of full and final freedom from suffering where there is eternal bliss. So सब कुछ आनंद ही आनंद हो. क्या IAS बनना है, क्या पढ़ाई लिखाई करना है, सब मोह माया है. कुछ ऐसा खोजो जिससे कि सब कुछ खत्म हो जाए. सब, ना किसी से डांट सुनना है, ना किसी से क्लास लिखना है, ना किसी से टेस्ट देना है, सब खत्म हो जाए. So this journey of finding the internal bliss has been since from the ancient times. Okay, and we are also in the phase of that. कि हो क्या पता IAS बन जाएंगे तो कुछ मिल जाएगा बहुत बढ़िया, है ना. This state is termed as moksha in Indian philosophy. This state is termed as moksha in Indian philosophy. राजेंद्र नगर, करोल बाग, मुखर्जी नगर में जब आपके अटेम्प्ट्स खत्म हो जाते हैं या जब सब कुछ हो जाता है तो हम ये नहीं बोलते कि हमारे अटेम्प्ट्स खत्म हो चुके हैं. We don't say, we just say we have attained moksha. So this is the word, this is the term which is there used when you exhaust all your attempt and now you don't want to prepare. So we say that anybody has attempt nahi dena hai, nahi sir moksha le liya. So remember, so this is the freedom from the entire competition. This state is termed as moksha in Indian philosophy. The seers found that ignorance is the root cause. Ignorance is the root cause of human suffering. Ignorance is the root cause of human suffering, and it can be dispelled, only by the supreme knowledge. Only by the supreme knowledge. Next para. In India, we find three main intellectual tradition. In India, we find three main intellectual tradition. First, Nigama. Then Agama, Nigama, Agama, Shramana. Nigama, Agama and the Shramana tradition. The tradition of Nigama also known as Veda, the tradition of Nigama also known as Veda, also known as the Veda, believes that the Vedas are either eternal or the teachings of God Hence their authority is unchallengeable. This tradition is the base of the six prime systems of Indian philosophy. Six prime systems of Indian philosophy. Next para. Apart from the Nigama tradition, there has been a parallel tradition of Agama. In this tradition, the followers have their own scriptures. Either in Sanskrit or in other languages. The followers consider their scriptures as divine thought or teaching, by God Himself to different sages and spread through the chain of scholars. full stop. Vaishnav Agama, Vaishnav Agama, Shiv Agama or Shaiv Agama, Shaiv Agama, and Sakt Tantra or the Sakti Tantra, Sakt worship, Sakt Tantra, Shakti worship, okay, Sakt Tantra are the main representatives, of the Agama tradition, are the main representative of the Agama tradition. So what is the similarity and the difference between this Nigama and the Agama? What is the similarity and the differences between this Nigama and the Agama? So they don't, so what you are suggesting is that Agama don't believe in Vedas. ऐसा कहाँ लिखा हुआ है? ऐसा तो कहीं लिखा नहीं हुआ है कि they don't believe in the Vedas. And you are saying that they don't believe in God. Vedas में क्या God नहीं है? Basically, similarity में, if we talk about, both believe in God, but different God. The Supreme God is different. Differences? Similarity again, it is that Vedas they do recognize, both of them recognize the Vedas. But the point is that in the Nigama, it is the supreme authority. While in the Agama, their scriptures are whatever the Shaiv Puran is there or the Vaishnav Puran is there or whatever the scriptures are there, they are of supreme paramount importance. They also recognize the Vedas, but one step below. Remember that. So that is Agama and the Nigama. Next para.
So can you repeat differences again?
Similarities and differences. Tell me now. बताओ. अच्छा, believe in God, both. Different gods. ठीक है? Different gods. Similarity, both believe in God, different God. अब आते हैं वेदास के ऊपर. Do both of them believe in Vedas? Yes, both of them believe in the Vedas. So similarity is there, both of them believe in the Vedas. But differences, in the Nigama, the Vedas have the supremacy. While in the Agamas, their own scriptures have supremacy and the Vedas are at a lower place. Vedas are at a lower place. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Next para. The Shramanas were the monks. The Shramanas were the monks who led a rigorous life. Who led a rigorous life. Around the 6th century, BCE, around the 6th century BCE, different Shramanic groups appeared in opposition to the Vedic ritualistic culture, to the Vedic ritualistic culture, and laid emphasis on leading a moral life, and laid emphasis on leading a moral life. Their arguments were based on sound logic, rather than faith, and hence they appealed to the masses. Example, Jainism and Buddhism. Example, Jainism and Buddhism. Next para. Though there are many different philosophical thought systems developed in India, though there are many different philosophical thought systems developed in India, three Nastik and six Astik, schools feature prominently in the history. 3 Nastik and 6 Astik school feature prominently in the history. Now we are going to start with the Nastik school. Okay, Nastik school of क्या? नहीं, श्रमणाज में वो कहां से आएंगे? क्या उसको अभी जिस टाइम पे हम कह रहे हैं उस टाइम तो हिंदुइज्म का कंसेप्ट ही नहीं आया है ना, उस टाइम तो हिंदू का तो कंसेप्ट ही नहीं आया है, तो हम हिंदुइज्म कहेंगे कहां से? या तो आप ब्राह्मणिज्म कह दीजिए, वैदिक कल्चर को अगर आप कहना चाहते हैं। श्रामणास का बेसिकली क्या है? मेन उनका था एसेटिक लाइफ को जीना। द मेन पॉइंट वेयर दे आर रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड इज द एसेटिसिज्म। अब क्या ब्राह्मणिज्म टोटली वी कैन से दैट इट वाज फेवरिंग टुवर्ड्स द एसेटिसिज्म? सम पार्ट। तो अब उसमें जो मोक्ष के तरफ में जा रहे हैं, सो दैट इज वाई वो डिबेटेबल हो जाता है। अब माने या नहीं माने, कितने पॉइंट तक माने। सो दो जो प्रोमिनेंट एग्जांपल है जिन्होंने अपना गोल एकदम फिक्स किया हुआ था कि हमें मोक्ष ही चाहिए, लिबरेशन ही अटेंड करना है, हाउस होल्ड लाइफ से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, सो दैट इज जैनिज्म एंड बुद्धिज्म। ब्राह्मणिकल आइडिया को वी कैन से दैट द ब्राह्मणिज्म वाज आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ दैट अप टू सम एक्सटेंट, बट दैट बिकम्स डिबेटेबल आफ्टर सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम। ठीक है। Now the Nastik philosophical system. Nastik philosophical system. Nastik philosophical system. First is the Charvak. और दूसरा, if we say that can we whether include the Brahmanical thinking in terms of the Shramanas or not, then the one most important point is that they were opposed to the Vedic ritualism. How the Brahmanism is opposed to Vedic ritualism? There was a misnomer and a misbelief that Upanishads, which are considered as the last part of the Vedas or the end of the Vedas, they didn't propounded or gave the idea of performing sacrifices. It is a misnomer. Even Upanishads are also ascribing and suggesting to practice the ritual portion of the Veda, that is the Karma Kand. So we cannot entirely say that this Brahmanical idea will also become part of the shamanism. Okay. So first, in the Nastik school of philosophy, we are going to discuss the Charvak philosophy. Charvak. Charvak philosophy. Basically, in English, you can write like this. And in Sanskrit, it is written as Charvak philosophy. This is the way how it is Sanskrit and it is written, Charvak philosophy. So write down. It is the first and the foremost, it is the first and the foremost Nastik Darshan. It is the first and the foremost Nastik Darshan. Tradition names it as Lokayata. Tradition names it as Lokayata, meaning tradition names it as Lokayata, meaning which appeals to the mass. Meaning which appeals to the mass. Which appeals to the mass. This philosophy is attributed to Brihaspati as it has another name, Brihaspat Darshan. As it has another name, Brihaspat Darshan. This philosophy is believed to be as old. This philosophy is believed to be as old as Vedic tradition. Next para. It is an extreme Nastik darshan. It is an extreme Nastik darshan which believes only one means of valid knowledge, that is pratyaksh, or the direct perception. Pratyaksh basically means what? Direct perception. And all other sources of knowledge and all other sources of knowledge are not trustworthy, or misleading. Since only pratyaksh is the valid means, since pratyaksh and all other sources, pratyaksh, that is direct perception, and all other sources of knowledge are not trustworthy or leading, or yes, are not trustworthy or misleading. Since only pratyaksh is the valid means of knowledge, since only pratyaksh is the valid means of knowledge, whatever is not there in its purview, whatever is not there in its purview is not a true knowledge at all. Whatever is not there in its purview is not a true knowledge at all. So according to Charvak, not any supernatural power is God, but the king who possess the power of punishing, or rewarding over the people should be considered as God. Since we get to know him through direct perception. Is it clear why it is termed as Nastik? What are its ideas? So only thing which can be perceived, that is only the valid means of knowledge. Other than that, nothing is the valid or the source of knowledge. Okay. Similarly, next line. Similarly, moksha, that is liberation, swarg, that is heaven, nark, that is hell, and rebirth are not part of this system as it cannot be perceived as it cannot be perceived through our sense organs. As it cannot be perceived through our sense organ. This next line, this philosophy discards the fifth fundamental element of the universe, that is, what are the 5 fundamental elements? क्या क्या होगा? Water, air, fire, earth, sky. ठीक है? So this philosophy discards the fifth fundamental element of the universe, that is the Akash. Akash or the space. Akash or the space, as it is not perceived to us. As it is not perceived to us. So according to this philosophy, only 4 fundamental elements exist. Only 4 fundamental elements exist. Next para. Original text of Charvak is not available to us. Original text of Charvak is not available to us. Whatever narratives are known to us, are found scattered in various literatures in Sanskrit, Views of Charvak had been compiled by a philosopher Madhava Vidyaranya. Madhava Vidyaranya. Madhava Vidyaranya. This philosophy criticizes the practice of sacrifices the practice of sacrifices in various rituals, in the pretext of dharma, in the pretext of dharma. Next line. The salient features of this philosophy, are as follows. First, world is made up of 4 elements. First, world is made up of 4 elements. Second, there is no soul. There is no soul. Third, there is no God. There is no God. Fourth, rejection of two of the 4 purusharth. What are the 4 purusharth? What are the 4 purusharth? Dharma, arth, kam and moksha. So what do you think Charvak will be rejecting? So these 2 are rejected and these 2 are accepted. So arth and moksha is accepted, dharma and moksha is rejected. Arth and kam is a part of Charvak philosophy. These 2 are not part of philosophy. Okay. So rejection of 2 of the 4 purusharth, that is the dharma and moksha, and the 5th one, that is the most important, enjoyment is the ultimate end. ये दिल को छूने वाला बात कहता है ये फिलॉसफी. Enjoyment is the ultimate end. मजा नहीं लिया तो कुछ नहीं हुआ, तो मजे लो. ठीक है. Now apart from this we have Jainism and Buddhism. So Jainism and Buddhism we have done. Okay. So there is no need to again ponder upon those philosophical ideas. So just here write down in your notes that here you will read the Jainism and the philosophy in the previous class or the previous notes. Okay. हाँ, जितने भी उनके philosophical teachings थे सब आ जाएंगे इसमें. ठीक है. So Nastik is complete. Now we are moving towards the Astik philosophical system. Astik, next topic, Astik philosophical system. Astik philosophical system. The Sanskrit word Sad Darshan, the Sanskrit word Sad Darshan refers to the sixth system of Indian philosophy, refers to the sixth system of Indian philosophy. They are Sankhya, They are Sankhya, Yog, Nyay, Vaisheshika, Purv Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa और वेदांता. Due to the mutual complementarity with each other, the six systems constitute the three pairs. The six system constitute the three pair. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So these are pair. They are complementary with each other. Complementary basically means what? The ideas are overlapping and they are taking and borrowing and giving and taking ideas from each other. Okay. So Sankhya Yoga 1 pair, Nyaya Vaisheshika 1 pair, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa 1 pair. Sankhya and Yoga, write down, Sankhya and Yoga, Sankhya and Yoga are complementary to each other, in terms of theory and practice, are complementary to each other in terms of theory and practice, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, are complementary to each other, in terms of epistemology, are in complementary with each other in terms of epistemology. What is epistemology? When I was talking about the Buddhism doctrine, while talking about the philosophical part, I have talked about this epistemology and metaphysics, और उस समय आप लोग का धुआं उड़ गया था. क्या था ये? बताओ. What till now, अब तक you have understood that what is philosophy. Can you segregate that what is the aim and the objective of the philosophy? So the aim is to attain knowledge. Metaphysics and epistemology. क्या हो सकता है इसमें? तो two components we have understood. Praman and Prameh. Object of knowledge and source of knowledge. Epistemology, object of knowledge, and metaphysics is the source of knowledge. Basically यही है, nothing else. That was, those two words were in the context of Indian ideas. These two words are in the context of Western ideas. Why? Basically you are studying the English language. So you need to remember these words also. Epistemology. So epistemology basically means what? Dealing with the knowledge. Epistemology basically here is the dealing with knowledge. And metaphysics, understanding that knowledge. Metaphysics basically means was how you understand the nature of the knowledge. That is the thing. So, Nyaya and Vaisheshika are complementary in terms of epistemology and in terms of metaphysics. Now, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa are complementary to each other, as both are dependent upon the Vedas, as both are based or dependent upon the Vedas. Purva Mimamsa is based on ritualistic portion of the Veda. Purva Mimamsa is based on the ritualistic portion of the Veda. Uttara Mimamsa is based on the Gyan Kand of Ved, What is the Gyan Kand of Ved? Upanishads. Okay, Upanishads. Okay. So based upon the Gyan Kand of Upanishad. So is it clear that how they are a pair? So now in pair it will be easy for you to remember. SYNVPU. Okay, try to remember with that. Now the important we will have ठीक है. So make this, first of all write down Sankhya. एंट्रेंस टेस्ट में दिया था मैंने, ये याद होगा जिन जिन ने टेस्ट दिया है ना. सांख्य, important personality is Kapila and the text is सांख्य शास्त्र. सांख्य शास्त्र, और sometimes you will also find सूत्र. Write down both, सांख्य शास्त्र और सूत्र. योगा, Patanjali, and then we have Yoga Sutra. Nyay, we have Gautama, and then we have Nyay Sutra. Vaisheshika, we have कनाडा, वो वाला कनाडा नहीं, and here we have वैशेषिका सूत्र. वैशेषिका सूत्र, पूर्व मीमांसा, उत्तर मीमांसा, we have Jamini, and here we have Badriyan, ब्रह्म सूत्र. ओके, ये तो बहुत, दिस पार्ट इज वेरी इजीली, यू कैन रिमेम्बर इट इजीली. जो नाम है उसी के साथ लास्ट में सूत्र लगा देना है. इंपॉर्टेंट इज दिस, ठीक है. 2-3 को याद रखो, बाकी का मैच द फॉलोइंग, ठीक है. ऐसे भी हो सकता है. नाउ वन बाय वन we will understand this philosophy. So first Sankhya. Now Sankhya first. Sankhya. Kapila is unanimously regarded, Kapila is unanimously regarded as the founder of as the founder of Sankhya system, as the founder of Sankhya system. After Kapila, this tradition is taken further by scholars like Asuri, Panchashika, Ishvara, and Krishna. भगवान नहीं, आदमी है ये. Okay, Krishna. Among them, Ishvara and Krishna are the most famous. Krishna who wrote Sankhya Karika, Krishna who wrote Sankhya Karika is the first available textbook to present the philosophy of Sankhya, in an orderly and systematic way. Next line, next para. The term Sankhya is interpreted in various ways. Some suggest that the term is derived from the word Sankhya, meaning number, Sankhya meaning number, and signifies a system of thought that discusses the systematic and analytic enumeration of the reality and existence while some consider it as a thought which reflects the distinctiveness of pure conscious and matter from each other. तो क्या हुआ इसका मीनिंग? What does it suggest? Yes, Shweta, pure conscience and matter from each other. So basically when we come to Sankhya, there is concept of the Purush and Prakriti. So this is the consciousness and this is the matter. Means anything which has life, if you try to segregate the life from that, then the thing that will remain is the matter, and the thing which has been segregated is the life, that is the consciousness. So anything which has life has two parts. One is the matter, that is the body itself, and the conscience or the consciousness, that is the, you can understand something in their term they are referring to as the Purush, or sometimes you can understand it as the spirit or the Atma or the soul inside it. Okay, so remember that. Next paragraph, next para. Like all other systems, Sankhya also considers ignorance as fundamental cause of human suffering, and can be freed by acquiring true knowledge. According to Sankhya, by acquiring valid means of knowledge, according to Sankhya, there are only three valid means. There are only three valid means of knowledge. That is first direct perception, inference, and verbal testimony. Okay, so out of that 6, it is accepting the 3. Okay, Sankhya accepts two ultimate realities, namely the Prakriti, which is of insentient nature, it means soulless. And the Purush, insentient, it means soulless, then write and Purush. So Sankhya accepts two ultimate realities. The first is the Prakriti, which is the soulless, and the Purush, which is the having soul. The Purush, which is having the soul. Write down the soul. अब देखो दिमाग का फर्मेंटेशन होगा. अब इसके लाइन के बाद में दिमाग का फर्मेंटेशन होगा. According to Sankhya philosophy, write down, according to Sankhya philosophy, something can never be produced, out of nothing. Something can never be produced out of nothing. समझाओ मुझे. Something can never be produced out of nothing. बताओ क्या मीनिंग हुआ इसका मतलब. क्या हुआ ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, क्या हो गया? ऐसा क्या लाइन बोल दिया कि सबके सब शांत हो गए? नॉर्मल लाइन ही तो है. समथिंग कैन नेवर बी प्रोड्यूस्ड आउट ऑफ नथिंग. Basically it is suggesting what? If something is there, it is coming out of something. यही तो इसका मतलब है ना. Something can never be produced out of nothing. अगर कुछ नहीं होगा, अगर कुछ है तो कुछ तो होगा. कुछ नहीं है तो कुछ भी नहीं है, और अगर कुछ है तो कुछ तो होगा. तो अंडा है और मुर्गी है. तो जब अंडा है तो मुर्गी है, मुर्गी है तो अंडा है. द पॉइंट इज नॉट कि विच पहले आया. द पॉइंट इज दैट कि दोनों थे. दैट इज द थिंग. सो इफ समथिंग इज देयर इन द यूनिवर्स, something would have existed even before to it. That is being suggested. So if anything is moving, it has life, and that life is comprised of the soul. And what is that soul? That soul is the Purush. And what is that matter? That matter is the Prakriti. वही तो है. If there exists something, then there is something already in existence. बिना आग लगे, बिना आग लगे तो धुआं उठता नहीं है. दैट इज द थिंग. यही तो बात हुआ ना कि समथिंग कैन नेवर बी प्रोड्यूस्ड आउट ऑफ नथिंग. कुछ पढ़ा होगा तभी तो एग्जाम में जाके लिख पाओगे ना. जब पूरा ब्लैंक रहेगा तो क्या लिखोगे? ओके, राइट डाउन. राइट डाउन. प्लेजर, 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 पेन एंड इंडिफरेंस. प्लेजर, पेन and indifference are derived by the three gunas, by the three gunas, by the three gunas or qualities, by the three gunas or qualities namely sattva, rajas and tamas. Basically refers to happiness, this refers to pain, and this refers to inactivity. Means in normal parlance we say sattvic, non-harmful person, सात्विक खाना, सात्विक विचार, दूसरों के बारे में अच्छा सोचना. So this is basically sattvic. So if you have a sattvic thought, sattvic personality, then it leads to happiness. Rajas, गुस्सैल वाला इंसान, बिना सोचे समझे कुछ भी बोल देना है ना, अकड़ में रहना. So that creates pain. तमस, खाली बैठा हुआ है, कुछ करना धंधा नहीं है. Tamas basically reflects to what? Inactivity. Sometimes Sattvic is also referred to as good action, action which reflects anger. That is also a thing. Tamas basically reflects the dark side. That is also reflected in the तामसिक. So तामसिक इंसान होता है ना, सुबह रात को सोया तो खाया चिकन, सुबह उठा तो फिर खाया फिश, तो तामसिक. So this is the तामसिक mentality वाला. So basically in sometimes we suggest then Sattvic is IAS. Sometimes we say Sattvic is the IAS, Rajas it is IPS. थोड़ा तोड़ फोड़ करने वाला इंसान होना चाहिए, थोड़ा दमदार इंसान होना चाहिए, थोड़ा गुस्सैल होना चाहिए. And what is tamas? तमस कौन होगा? तमस कौन है? जो क्वालिफाई नहीं किया, नॉन क्वालिफाइंग कैंडिडेट्स. इनएक्टिविटी है ना, इनएक्टिविटी, नॉन क्वालिफाइंग कैंडिडेट्स जो नहीं क्वालिफाई कर पाए, तमस. ठीक है. These three qualities, write down these three qualities reside, these three quality reside in the Prakriti, these three quality reside in the Prakriti in a state of perfect balance, in a state of perfect balance, Sankhya says that the entire universe, Sankhya says that the entire universe is born out of Prakriti, Purush is all pervading, Purush is all pervading and eternal, Purush is all pervading and eternal, all pervading and eternal, that is conscious, in its essence, Sankhya believes that the creation of universe, is a result of union, between Prakriti and Purush. So, materials are already existing. Okay, materials are already existing and they have all these quality, Satvik, Rajas and Tamas. Okay, this is the Prakriti. Now there is a Purush. Now there is a union and this leads to a creation of universe which has numerous human beings. So all of them will have this component because this is the soul. Purush is the soul. Prakriti has the features, Satvik, Rajas and Tamas. And depending upon, now this union, depending upon that whatever one acquires or whatever one actions leads to, it will have the influence of these ideas. So if a person is of good conduct, then he will reflect, or he or she will reflect Satvik ideas. If one is of vigorous nature, then it will refer Rajas. If there is state of inactivity, then it will refer to Tamas. So this is the way they are explaining the concept of the universe, the rise of universe and how the universe functions. Basically in the context of these three features, they are explaining that. Okay. So this is about the Sankhya. Now Yog. Sankhya and then Yog. Patanjali is known as the founder. Patanjali is known to be the founder of the yoga. Patanjali is known to be the founder, is known to be the founder of the yoga system, He is the author of Yoga Sutra. He is the author of Yoga Sutra, the oldest text of yoga philosophy, wherein he describes the composition, nature and functions of human mind. Wherein he describes the composition, nature and functions of human mind. Patanjali has outlined the scientific ways and method of controlling the mind, which according to him is the only means of liberation, the ultimate goal of human life. Next para. Ashtang Yoga aims at the final state of spiritual absorption through eight folds, that is the 8 limbs of yoga. These are first, that is the yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Okay, 8 limbs of the yoga or the Ashtanga Yoga. यम, नियम, आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, dharana, dhyan and samadhi. Okay, these 8 limbs of yoga, these 8 limbs of yoga can be divided into 3 sets, Initial two are moral discipline. Initial two are moral discipline. Moral discipline. Basically, this refers to internal purification. And this refers to external purification. These are the next 3. These are external discipline. External discipline. Asan, basically different kind of postures, different kind of yogic exercises. Okay. Pranayam, the breath control technique. Okay. And pratyahar, what is pratyahar? What is pratyahar? It means withdrawal of senses. Withdrawal of senses. Now, what does that mean? Withdrawal of senses. सीधा आखिरी में ही पहुंच गए. Withdrawal of senses. आपको गुस्सा आ रहा है, बट आपने आसन के थ्रू और प्राणायाम के थ्रू उस चीज को कंट्रोल कर लिया. सो यू हैव segregated yourself from your sense also. आपका सेंस तो कह रहा है कि आज इसको मारूंगा. आपका सेंस कह रहा है कि आज इसको मैं मारूंगा, लेकिन उसी टाइम आपने उल्टा गिनती गिनना चालू कर दिया. 100, 99, 98 आपको फिर इसमें हो गया, तो आपका ध्यान भटक गया. सो दैट इज द वे you withdraw your senses from that particular object or from that particular thing. Okay. And the last 3 are internal discipline. Internal discipline. So dharana is what? Dharana is concentration. Dharana is concentration. फोकस करो उसके ऊपर. Dharana is concentration. ध्यान, meditation, samadhi. What is samadhi? Freedom from everything. When you have acquired all this, तो मतलब मिल गया समाधि. अब चाहे IAS बने या ना बने, क्या लेना देना है. ठीक है. Yes, internal discipline. Moral discipline, external discipline, internal discipline. Okay. Next para. Yes. Samadhi, final liberation Final liberation. Final liberation. Next para. The yoga system accepts three fundamental realities. Namely Ishwar, Ishvara, Purush and Prakriti. And now it is clear that why Sankhya and Yoga are complementary, because these two ideas are already there in the Sankhya, and here we are also finding this idea. So that is why. And one addition is the Ishwar. Patanjali says scriptures are the sources of the existence of Ishvara. Patanjali says that scriptures are the sources of the existence of Ishvara. So they are legitimizing the Vedas. That the proof that the God exists is that Vedas exist. That is the proof of that. Ishvara is omniscient. Ishvara is omniscient. What is the meaning of omniscient? All eternal. Ishvara is omniscient and is free from the qualities inherent in Prakriti. So what are the qualities inherent in Prakriti? Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Ishwar is free from all these qualities. Patanjali defines yoga as Chit Vritti Nirodh. That is yoga is the restraint. Yoga is the restraint of the mental operation. Yoga is the restraint of mental operation. So once you have acquired the control over mind, you can attain salvation. That is what is being suggested. Okay? Yoga is the restraint of the mental operation. Okay? So this is about the Sankhya and the Yoga. Now let's move to Nyaya. Nyaya philosophy. Nyaya. The term Nyaya means logic. The term Nyaya means logic. This system of philosophy is pioneer This system of philosophy is pioneer in establishing the Indian logic, It is formally established by Gautama Vatsyayan Vatsyayan is another important scholar who wrote Nyay Bhasya. Nyay Bhasya, a commentary on Nyay Sutra of Gautam, These two texts are the building blocks of the Nyaya system. Next para. The Nyaya system believes that the world is real and our experience of the same is true since the attainment of liberation is the highest goal of human life, the Nyaya philosophy shows the path for the same. The right knowledge of the prameya helps to attain the liberation. Okay. So basically, as it believes in the world, the Nyaya is saying that whatever you see in the world, and if you understand it very clearly, if you have the true and the proper knowledge about it, then you can attain liberation. And is here basically what is that? The world as it is. So what is that? Prameya. Prameya is what? Object of knowledge. So anything you want to know about, if you understand it properly and correctly, then you will be able to understand it and you will be able to attain liberation. That is the thing suggested. Next line. The Nyaya accept 4 means of valid knowledge. The Nyaya accepts 4 means of valid knowledge, that is perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony. Comparison and verbal testimony. So, prameya is there, and what are the 4 pramanas are there. So, with the help of 4 pramanas, you can understand anything, and if you understand anything properly, then you can attain liberation. That is the way. Okay. Next para. The Nyaya philosophy accepts the existence of God, that is Ishvara. The cycle of creation and dissolution. The cycle of creation and dissolution is without any beginning, and the universe is created by Ishvara with the help of eternal atom, time, individual mind, space and individual self, that is Jiva. In accordance with the past deeds, of the individual self. Okay. Individual self. समझ में आया या नहीं समझ में आया? बताओ. क्या आया? Yes. So whatever if new, so basically the doctrine of karma is there. That whatever if the new thing will be created, if one individual is taking a new life, then it will be based upon his karma. What kind of karma he has done in this life, that will decide his next life. This is being suggested. That is why the Vedas, that is why the Astik school of philosophy. Somewhere around they will touch the Vedic core, Vedic ideas. Okay. So this is about the Nyaya. Now we are coming to Vaisheshika. Nyaya, Vaisheshika. अभी 3 बज गया है क्या? 3 तो नहीं बजा है अभी तक. कहाँ 3 बजा है? अभी तो 3 बजा ही नहीं है. फिर वैशेषिका, राइट डाउन. अब तो मुझे फ्री हैंड मिला है पूरा इस हफ्ते. 10 minutes. वैशेषिका कर लो, उसके बाद ले लेना 10 मिनट्स। नहीं छोड़ तो नहीं सकते, आज तो पूरा कंप्लीट होगा, आज कंप्लीट होगा। स्कूल्स ऑफ फिलॉसफी को आज कंप्लीट करेंगे। कैन यू प्लीज, अच्छा श्वेता, you are not clearly Ronaldo, please write whatever you want to say। ऐसे नाम नहीं लेते हैं किसी का। हाँ हाँ कर रहा हूँ। The last line is the cycle of creation and dissolution. The cycle of creation and dissolution is without any beginning, and the universe is created by Ishwar, with the help of eternal atom, time, individual mind, space, and individual self, comma, in accordance with the past deeds, of the individual self, in accordance with the past deeds of the individual self। ठीक है, वैशेषिका, राइट नाउ 10 मिनट का तो मिल ही गया ब्रेक। वैशेषिका, द फाउंडर ऑफ द वैशेषिका सिस्टम, is Kannada, ये नाम है, ये संस्कृत वर्ड है। एक्चुअली में ये टेक्स्ट तो संस्कृत में लिखे हुए हैं, तो जब हम इसे ट्रांसलेट करते हैं इंग्लिश में तो हमें ये मेंटेन करना पड़ता है। तो र, रा, ई, ओ, आ, ई का जो प्रोनाउंसिएशन जो होता है, so that we have to write down. This is the way of writing down the things। ठीक है। The founder of the Vaisheshika system of Indian philosophy is Kannada. It is also called Aulukya Darshan। It is also called Aulukya Darshan। प्रशस्ता पदा, is another important philosopher, of this school, who wrote Padarth Dharma, a commentary on the Vaisheshika Sutra of Kannada, a commentary of the Vaisheshika Sutra of Kannada, next line or next para. The Vaisheshika system, okay Shweta, I will tell you about, let the class get over, I will tell you about. The Vaisheshika system believes in the reality of the world, and recognizes seven padarth or categories which are first dravya, first is the dravya, that is the substance, quality, that is guna, देखो, guna, that is quality, okay, karma, that is action, samanya, that is generality, vishesh, that is particularity, samavaya, relation of inherence, and the last is abhav, non-existence. Okay, this system also believes in liberation as the supreme goal of life, as the supreme goal of human life. The followers of this system accept the existence of God, and believed that God creates, sustains and destroys the universe, according to them, God is the cause, the will of the God. According to them, the will of the God is the cause for creation. He causes, नहीं, क्या लिखा हुआ है? Cause for creation. He causes the combination of the moving atoms. Which is instrumental in the creation of the world at the time of destruction of the universe. at the time of destruction of universe, the entire world is reduced to the primary state of 7 categories. Is reduced to the primary state of 7 categories. The Vaiseshika system is given credit to discover the atomic theory of creation for the first time. To discover the atomic theory of creation for the first time. It has also influenced Indian medicine, that is Ayurveda. Okay. Now, Purva Mimamsa. It has also influenced the Indian medicine that is Ayurveda. It has also influenced the Indian medicine that is Ayurveda. Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa. The philosophical system of Purva Mimamsa, was founded by Jamini. The school firmly believes in the preservation of the effect or the fruits of ritual by a remarkable power. It believes that the Vedas are impeccable in what they say. Mimamsa strictly is of the opinion that whatever we do in our life, Mimamsa strictly is of the opinion that whatever we do in our life are not dreams or illusion, but are real. कभी कभी इनको पढ़ के नहीं लगता है इनका भी हिला हुआ था अच्छे से. Whatever we do in our life are not dreams or illusion but are real. अरे तो भाई जो कर रहे हो तो रियल है ही है रियल, तो उसमें बताने का क्या जरूरत है. ओके, नेक्स्ट पैरा. Jamini accepts two type of knowledge. Jamini accepts two type of knowledge, namely pratyaksh, that is immediate knowledge. Pratyaksh here means immediate knowledge. And paroksh, that is mediate knowledge. What is mediate knowledge? Knowing the unknown things, looking or going after the unknown things. Immediate knowledge, pratyaksh, immediate knowledge. So whatever you know, whatever you see, that is the pratyaksh. And apart from this, there are many things are there which you don't know, and you try to understand that. So that is paroksh. Okay. Source of paroksh is of five kind. Namely inference, comparison, verbal testimony, postulation, and non-perception. Jamini says that souls are eternal, but they definitely undergo transmigration as per the actions performed by the body. Liberation puts an end to the transmigration of the soul. Liberation puts an end to the transmigration of soul. Performance of daily duties brings about liberation. Performance of daily duties brings about liberation. Okay, so basically what does this Purva Mimamsa relies upon? Performing the Vedic rituals and the sacrifices, and doing the domestic or whatever the daily chores are there. They are the most important thing, and they are the path which provides the path to liberation. Remember that, Purva Mimamsa. That is the essence and the central concept of this idea. Okay. Next para. One of the most important observation one of the most important observation made by the Purva Mimamsa, is that there is no need for the existence of God to create the world. There is no need for the existence of God to create the world, as well as rewarding or punishing human actions. This is because of the fact that all material needed for the formation and creation of world is available eternally. Hence Mimamsa does not speak about the existence of God. Next para. The major contribution
Existence of what?
बस full stop, उसके बाद में next para.
Hey sir, after existence of like I didn't get that word.
Existence of God, and then it is full stop. Then you write down next para.
Okay sir, thank you.
Yes. The major contributions of Mimamsa has been its emphasis on the study of language hermeneutics. Emphasis on the study of language hermeneutics. नहीं, साथ में language hermeneutics, which is basically the science of sentence interpretation. So hermeneutics is what? Basically the study or the science of sentence interpretation, that if any sentence is written, how do you interpret it? Basically the work of the Supreme Court of India, final interpreter and the guarantor of the constitution. Okay, this philosophy has a unique belief system. That the Vedas are not human made, but self-originated. But self-originated. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. They are saying ki before anything was there, the Vedas were there. How it is that we don't know, but Vedas are there and everything is coming out from the Vedas entire. So they would be that class of Brahman there who are specifically related to this class only. So they just want to give this logic only. Whether it does not satisfy to it is not the question. The question is that what they understood, we have to read that. That is the thing. Okay. Now last है 10 मिनट में खत्म हो जाएगा 10 मिनट का ब्रेक मांग रहे हो 10 मिनट में खत्म हो जाएगा लास्ट हाँ खत्म लास्ट उत्तरा मीमांसा और द वेदांता उत्तरा मीमांसा और द वेदांता This philosophical system does not have a specific founder. This philosophical system does not have a specific founder since it is a conglomeration of three different school of thought namely Advaita, विशिष्ट अद्वैता आई है ये अद्वैता विशिष्ट अद्वैता द्वैता अद्वैता विशिष्ट अद्वैता द्वैता कौन है इनके फाउंडर कभी पढ़ा है इनके बारे में Who is associated with Advaita, Visist Advaitavad and Dvaitavad? So who is with whom Ramanujacharya is associated, Shankaracharya is associated? Yes. Okay, so write down. Adi Shankara is associated. Adi Shankara is associated with the Advaita, system of Vedanta philosophy. With the Advaita system of Vedanta philosophy. Ramanuja Ramanuja is associated with the Visist Advaitva system of Vedant philosophy. Visist Advaitva system of Vedant philosophy. And Madhava is associated with the Dvaita philosophy, with the Dvaita system of Vedant philosophy, with the Dvaita system of Vedant philosophy. Next para. Vedant emphasized the path of knowledge as opposed to that of work or sacrifice, as opposed to that of work or sacrifice. Work or sacrifice. Purva Mimamsa is saying that in order to acquire liberation, you need to perform sacrifices. And here they are saying, no, sacrifices are not important, but rather the path of knowledge is required. Okay? Arguing that the results of sacrifice were impermanent, while the object of knowledge, that is the Brahma, was eternal and unchanging. Vedantic schools gave an account of Brahma, the world and the relation between the two. Gave an account of the Brahma, the world and the relation between two. Like other philosophical system, Vedant also aimed to attain moksha, through the path of knowledge. Okay. So in this way, the topic, this is over. Now write down the general feature of the salient feature of Indian philosophy. After reading all this, what are the salient features? बस इसके बाद over हो जाएगा, ठीक है? Overall, we have studied the Upanishad, we have studied Jainism, we have studied Buddhism. Today we studied Charvak and the sixth school of philosophy. Now if we combine all these together, now what are the salient features of this Indian philosophy, that what we have to write down. Salient features of Indian philosophy. Okay. So bearing the Charvak philosophy, write down, bearing, or it basically means keeping aside, bearing the Charvak philosophy, we observe the following. Bearing the Charvak philosophy, we observe the following. First, we observe the following. First, Indian philosophy is usually spiritual in its nature. Is spiritual in nature. Second, Indian philosophy emanated means originated or deriving the idea. Emanated from the experience of suffering. Third, religion and philosophy are intertwined. And sometimes they are inseparable. While discussing the Buddhist philosophy, a question I have asked, that how do we consider the teachings of the Buddha at that time? Should it be considered religion or should it be considered a philosophy? So I have dealt with that. Okay. Religion and philosophy are intertwined and sometimes they are inseparable. They are inseparable. Fourth, it is a complete and comprehensive system. It is a complete and comprehensive system. Next point. It usually believes in the doctrine of karma and rebirth. It usually believes in the doctrine of karma and rebirth. It is not, next point, it is not person-centric. It is not person-centric, but a tradition-oriented system. It is not a person-centric but a tradition-oriented system. Next point, ignorance is the root cause of suffering. Ignorance is the root cause of suffering. Liberation, next point, liberation is the ultimate goal. In philosophy, it is written as Sumam Boram. Summum, not Borum, Bonum it is actually. Summum Bonum. It means the ultimate goal. This word means ultimate goal. So liberation is the ultimate goal of Indian philosophical tradition. Okay. हो गया है. Okay. Now with this एक छोटा सा वैल्यू एडिशन अपने नॉलेज में कर लो. So you have studied about the Indian philosophy basically. Now sometimes someone can ask you that as there is system of philosophy in the India also, similarly there is system of philosophy in the Western world also. Okay. So are they similar to each other or are they different to each other? What? Yes. Almost similar. How? नहीं, see that महात्मा गांधी के आइडियाज को हम डायरेक्टली फिलोसफिकल डॉक्ट्राइन नहीं कह सकते हैं. वो एक इंडिविजुअल का बिलीफ सिस्टम था एंड इट इज देयर, बट एग्जैक्टली वी कैन नॉट से. सी जब हम कंपैरिजन कर रहे हैं तो हमें उस टाइम के जैसे एरिस्टोटल की फिलॉसफी को देखना है, प्लेटो की फिलॉसफी को देखना है. वी हैव टू गो अंडरस्टैंड दैट पार्ट. Now in brief I have to tell you, obviously I cannot take class on that. I can take class on that, but it is not possible for the foundation class, that is philosophy optional. So basically what we will find is that when you read this entire philosophy, the common thing which comes out is that knowledge is power. This is the point of commonality. They are, because philosophy itself comprises two parts, epistemology and metaphysics. So you have knowledge and how you understand the knowledge. So knowledge is the very essence and the very root of every Indian, not Indian, every philosophical system. And when you understand the knowledge, when you have the right knowledge, you can attain whatever goal you have set in your life. So knowledge is basically power. Now generally the difference is that the Western philosophy aims to control the knowledge. Western philosophy basically aims to control the knowledge. Through control over knowledge, they thrive to control the nature. Acquiring knowledge, they acquire power, and the agenda is so that they can control the nature. That is why sometimes their destruction activity is much more towards the Western philosophy, Western ideas. Conquering the other land, subjugating other people. So this has been in their ideas. While in Indian philosophy, knowledge is power. Through that knowledge, you try to understand the nature, but you don't try to control it, rather subjugate oneself towards the nature. You acquire the knowledge. By acquiring the knowledge, you understand the nature, but you don't try to control the nature, rather you make yourself subjugate oneself to the nature. Don't create any harm towards the nature. That is the thing. And that is why we generally don't find this idea that sometimes people would have suggested that why Indians didn't had any kind of outlook towards conquering other parts of the subcontinent. If they would have done this, then the invasion would not have been there. Largely basically because this of Indian philosophical system. This idea has been there in the entire system. Okay. So subjugating oneself to the nature is the essence and the core of the Indian philosophy, while controlling the nature is the essence and the main agenda of the Western philosophy. So this is the idea. With this topic is over. Okay.